Episode of the Everblack Podcast is brought to you by Deathwish, Hotrods and Kustoms. Check out their Instagram for all their new t-shirts, caps, beanies, cups, and the all-new Atomic Death lineup. Hey man, it's been a little while since we've spoken. We said we did it the old way, you know, the old telephone, and now technology's made the jump, and here we are.
Yeah, well, it fits perfect to this album's topic, you know, cyberpunk and sci-fi and all that stuff.
Exactly what I was leading into. But mate, thanks for joining us on the show again. It's good to see you, is what I was getting at.
Yeah, my pleasure. Likewise, man.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. Well, of course, the new Beast in Black album, Dark Connection, is out this week on October 29, and it's fun, over the top, cyberpunk adventure. And, you know, I got to say, man, you know, over the last 18 months, things have been pretty hectic. And this one seems to bring the fun back. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of albums are coming out and they're a little gloomy, a little sad, which is understandable. But this one seems to be bringing that fun back. Was that the plan? Was that what you were channeling for the future?
Well, actually, the songs were already mostly chosen before the pandemic kicked in. So the musical content wouldn't have changed. And the lyrics actually also didn't deal with any of the pandemic and stuff, because generally what we want to give with Beast in Black is kind of escapism, like give the people a moment, give a breather, you know, for the amount time while they listen to the songs and the album. Like, you know, we don't want to remind them about the existence of COVID and pandemic and other like these things. Of course, we want to write lyrics, and we do like something that is strong and meaningful or exciting and somehow resonates in the listener in some level. But the last thing we wanted to do is definitely like to remind about this COVID. You know, I remember when the pandemic started, so many artists made a notion about that in their albums or songs when they put out. I was thinking that, hey, it's gonna wear itself out really fast. So we definitely, even though we didn't have any plans, I mean, even though the songs were ready before the pandemic, except for the lyrics, even so, I thought, well, we're not gonna go that direction. It's like not a good idea.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. It's like all these albums that are influenced by this time period, you know, fast forward 10, 20 years, it's going to be like that timestamp. And it makes me wonder if it's going to be, you know, if it's going to age those albums, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to have that dark cloud over them, where I think albums like this one, it's set in its own world. It's its own concept. It's away from the doom and the gloom. You know, will that sort of help it sort of stand that test of time? If you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you mean. And that's how I also think that, you know, the piece of art, whether it's a song or a movie or a book or a painting, you know, it should be able to stand on its own, no matter what the decade or century it is. That's how any form of art should like work. And of course, each piece of art is affected by the surroundings and the time where you live in, but it doesn't mean that you always have to copy your exact surroundings into your art. It's just like what happens kind of naturally and instinctively.
That's
right. You know,
if
we make sci-fi album or a cyberpunk album, and if there are like futuristic vehicles, cars or something like that, yeah, probably there wouldn't have been any like cars if I would be living in medieval times. But it's just something, well, it's everyone can relate to cars, but it doesn't mean I'm putting cars into the music videos or the stories to underline that, we are now living in 2020 and we have this type of car models or something. It just happens kind of instinctively, you know. But the story is what matters the most. You have to have the characters that somehow resonate in you, to whom you can relate to, or somehow feel fascinating to you. And then you can just choose what kind of a backdrop you make for those characters. Cyberpunk is one kind of a backdrop. Like this album is just serving as a kind of retro futuristic backdrop for the characters' stories that are in it. In the end, even the Moonlight Rendezvous, the first single, it's about humanoid robot facing a human, and the relationship connection between them. Yeah, she's a humanoid robot because we are in a fictional future, hundreds of years from now on. But that's not the point. The point is that song is about the feelings, the emotions between them, and that is to what people can maybe hopefully relate to and resonate with. So everything outside that is just the carpet or the backdrop.
That's it. No, that's right. It could be anywhere. That's what you've chosen to set the theme around, which I absolutely love, mate. If you could see this room, I'm all about that shit. I'm all about hey man, nerdy metal stuff goes together. But mate, I'm a massive Blade Runner fan, and I haven't played the Cyberpunk game that everyone was talking about because I can't do first person. But man, I hear it's awesome.
I haven't played it either. I'm too old school. I play the Nintendo and Sega games.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. But I love the world. I love the look of it. I love the escapism of it. It's awesome, and and it's different for you guys too. And is it something you want to do? Moving forward, do you want to explore more of that world?
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be more of this sci-fi cyberpunk stuff in the future. I don't know, will it be to the same extent like it was on this album, or even maybe more? I can't say, but I do have a concept, one concept idea for the fourth album already. And cyberpunk themed songs would also connect to that concept really nicely, but I don't want to reveal that concept yet. We haven't even released this third album. I already have this fourth album, one of the possible concepts in mind. But let's see what happens. It has to brew in my mind, and I have to write some songs and lyrics and select some songs which have been waiting for years and years to be recorded and released. But as you can see, there's so much always going on, from the artistic side of things. As long as you are hungry for what you do, and when you love what you do, and you can keep things interesting for yourself, then that's a good thing. And that will hopefully also reach the fans, that kind of caring and enthusiasm for your own thing. Because when people see that, hey, this band, they care what they do, they can also appreciate more than what we do. But if they see that the band is just going through the motions and playing by the safe numbers, I think they can feel it, they can sense it.
Absolutely.
And so I believe that you have to wholeheartedly plunge into this thing, what you do, and then people they notice it on really maybe instinctive level. And even from live shows, actually, that's something that we've heard a lot since the beginning, that even though the songs can be dark, or the lyrics can be really dark, but when we play the song live, like The Fifth Angel, it's a really dark lyric, but the song is powerful, uplifting, and we always enjoy playing any song and smile, and people are telling you smile so much on stage, and because it feels like it, and then they give that same energy back to us. And when we lose that, hopefully never, but if we lose that, that's the moment when we have to stop, because we don't want to do things by force. It has to be real.
And it's genuine, and it is something that I definitely get from you guys. It's genuine, a genuine love for what you do, and the concepts and everything you put behind it. It's all there,
Yeah.
And I feel it with this album. I hear it with this album. I mean, the video clips alone, holy shit, dude! You could have just gone, we'll just be in a warehouse, playing along to the song, but no, you went all out, and you've made these two video clips that are just absolutely mind-blowing. Like they're like mini movies and they're totally different from each other. You know, one's animated and one's like this full story, and I want more of it. Like,
Well,
man, it's incredible.
wait until you see the third music video. It's coming out.
What is it?
You'll see
Oh,
quite.
come on, mate. Give me a little hint.
Yeah. Well, next week.
Oh,
next week.
Next week. Awesome. I'm hanging for it. But you know, is it something you want to maybe explore? You know, with visually, would you think about, you know, making a series or something like that?
Perhaps it's all coming from my this kind of, what's the word, enthusiasm towards films. I'm a really like film fanatic, movie fan, mostly of the old films, because they were braver. There was more room for original stories, but nowadays the films are just based on already existing brands, which are easy to market and sell. But back in the 90s and 80s, those were the decades, and the 70s, those were the decades when they created those original stories, which then turned into big brands. And now we're living in an age where the film companies and Netflix and all these other like are afraid to kind of be courageous. You know, okay, let's not always play by the numbers and be safe. Like I'm kind of fed up with that, and with Beast in Black making these music videos, it's kind of a showing like, you know, Blade Runner is totally unfamiliar for newer generation fans. We have lots of like teenage listeners as well. We have old people and teenagers, but they are not aware of Blade Runner maybe at all. And maybe when they see from comments, what is this Blade Runner when people speak, they go and find it out, and then they check it out. Maybe they like it, maybe they don't, but at least I'm happy if people become more aware and start to develop a liking towards these more original stories where they came from, instead of just automatically going to see the 10th or 20th Batman or Spider-Man movie. Like, you can enjoy those as well, but like instead of going like this, you know, towards one, you broaden the horizon a little bit. You can check those Spider-Man movies if you want, but hey, look around a little bit more. That's kind of, and I want to like kind of incorporate that kind of aspect of my passion towards movies into Beast in Black's creations, like the promo pictures, the song lyrics, stories, music videos, and all that. Like movies are a big influence, and books as well.
Okay, so in saying that, what's your top, say, 3 movies from, you know, all time?
Well, maybe you won't believe it, but Titanic by James Cameron.
Hey man, Jim Cameron.
Yeah, he's my like all-time favorite director and writer. And Jurassic Park is another one, the first one. And I would say again that probably Terminator. So 2 films from Jim and 1 from Steven Spielberg. But I love Alien, the first one from '79, and the sequel, which is also done by Jim Cameron. So, and Paul Verhoeven's first film, Flesh and Blood, you know, it was total like a box office bomb. It was his first American movie, like first Hollywood production, and it failed miserably. Not because it's a bad movie, but it was something that it was too much for American audiences to digest.
I've never seen it. That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut, brother. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Go check it out. You know, Paul Verhoeven, Flesh and Blood. Actually, the movie is written like flesh plus blood, like the plus symbol.
Yeah.
But it has Rutger Hauer in the leading role. Great actor. I love that actor, and so yeah.
Man,
there are so many great films, but there, Titanic, Jurassic Park, Terminator. I think that those could be at least the two first ones stay, but the third film that might change depending on my mood. But Titanic has always been number one for me.
See, it's, I can always rattle off mine. Mine's like Donnie Darko is my favorite movie of all time, funny enough. And then Lost Highway by David Lynch. Evil Dead 2. Man. And there's 86 Transformers movie.
Okay, yeah, I have seen. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, the animation.
Yeah. And Empire Strikes Back. I mean, you gotta
yeah. I love also the earlier Star Wars, the first three films, and John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China. It wasn't a big success, but maybe it's because I watched it first when I was a small kid and kind of developed a liking to it, and still I like that movie a lot. It's fun to watch.
I love that movie. I haven't seen it in a very long time, and I think I'm going to revisit it along with a couple of other John Carpenter classics.
Yeah,
a couple I haven't seen as well, but hey, that's what it's all about. Hey, like still discovering some of that stuff. You got to show the young kids. You got to show the young kids, and it all links. You're right. It does go back to it because they will discover. Winging it back to music, I like that about when you hear a band, they go, oh, what are they're singing about something here, and then you find out it's a book, or you find out it's a movie, and then you follow that rabbit hole. There's been tons. I can't think of right now, but there's been tons of bands where I've discovered heaps of shit that way, and I love it. And I think you're going to find that too with Blade Runner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, love it. All about it. But this is album number 3 for you guys. So I was, and the cyberpunk concept, obviously we're talking about movies and stuff, but was there one thing that sparked that? Were you just sort of, late at night and you woke up and you're like, I've got it. I've got the concept.
Well, I think that the first, I actually can't remember the exact date. Why did I think about it? It somehow gradually kind of came back to me, because with my previous band, Battle Beast, I wrote 3 first albums, and the 2 first ones were influenced by Cyberpunk. So to me, it was kind of a return to the beginning, to continue from where I left, and somehow it just came like naturally and like smoothly into the picture. But the first actual thing that inspired from the perspective of songwriting and lyric writing was the anime Armitage the Third from 1995. So that was the first concrete, like a outside influence, like in a form of a, like in another art form that influenced me directly. And it was actually the song Highway to Mars. It, like some kind of a first version of that song's chorus was that I was writing that was inspired by Armitage the Third. And then, months went by and a year went by. And then I thought, hey, I definitely want to have this chorus expanded into a whole song and to tell the story of the first episode of Armitage the Third.
That's sick.
Yeah.
What does it usually start with for you? I mean, obviously guitar, but do you ever like just mess around with the old synths and get your inspiration?
Yeah, of course. Songwriting, it doesn't have a strict method for me. It's a totally free approach, kind of a zone. You can just take a stroll out in the city and then suddenly get inspired out of nothing. You hear something in your head, and then when you come home, you can try it out with other instruments. I can program them with my computer, or I can just drive a car and a melody comes to my mind, or I grab a guitar and like noodle around and there's some melody comes up. For example, I was just playing some improvised solos in 2018. Yeah, I think it was early in 2018 or late 2017. Can't remember exactly, but there was one part of the solo. I just realized, hey, what did I just play? That sounded like a melody. And that turned into the main melody of the previous album's opening track, the Cry Out for a Hero, like so it was noodling with the guitar randomly. Then I picked up, hey, I played something nice. Then that whole thing expanded into a full song. So it can happen like that as well. Or just I play chord progressions. Like chord progressions are more about the mood, what kind of mood you want. But sometimes it's the riffs, like more straightforward, aggressive, like commanding riffs. Or the drum beats, like different kind of drum loops that I go through myself, and even beatbox. I don't dare to do that, like when people are around. But like, you know,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
kick drum and snare drum sounds with your mouth. You can replicate those, and the hi-hat sound and all of it. I do that even. Like, but hey, Michael Jackson, like he uses these kind of percussive elements while he like does vocals. Like he doesn't just sing the lyrics; he does all this kind of weird sounds. So it's part of being a musician. I think just use any tools available which help you in kind of executing the vision that you have at hand. Like if it helps to beatbox, and then just do it and don't feel that I cannot do that. That's awkward, but just whatever. But most important thing is the mind. You have to learn to kind of gather the rhythms, the melodies, the chords, all in your mind, and already understand how it sounds before you even play it out with guitar or program it. And that's really helpful for me. And that's why I often take like strolls in the city, just go walk around and like compose while walking. And then I come home and just write it down like physically, so I remember it better.
See, I always find my ideas come when I'm driving or when I don't have my, and I've got to be yelling at Siri to open up the recorder, the sound recorder. Open the recorder, open the. So I've got heaps of like samples in my phone where it's just traffic and me, beatbox noises and all this weird shit. And then you go to show people and you just go, oh, I just can't do it. You go, don't pay attention to that. It's just the idea behind it, man. The idea behind it. But funny talking about it as well. There's the intro to the song One Night in Tokyo. It actually, when it kicks in, it can be mistaken for like a 90s dance track, possibly.
Yeah, I know. It's what was the artist? Pandora, Don't You Know? That's the song. I'm very much aware of that, but what people are not aware of that riff when it starts, it was done already way before Pandora by an artist named Koto. It's like kind of Italo disco artist. So the jokes on them would say that Beast in Black is copying Pandora. Pandora is copying Koto.
I wasn't going to say it's copying, but it's definitely like a homage to that.
Yeah, exactly. The copying is like a bad word. It's paying like tribute, homage, as you said, and it's still not 100% like copy. There's like a second bar is already different. Like there's a different chord. Like I remember the chord progressions in the Pandora song. I had slightly different chord progressions. And then in the third and fourth bar, the melody already starts to be different, even though the rhythmical sequence is the same, but a few notes differ. And the same thing with Koto. There was like the rhythmical sequence is all the same throughout the 4 bars, but the chords slightly change and the selection of notes. But you can recognize the first bar is identical. All the 3 of us, Beast in Black, Pandora, and Koto, the first bar is like 100% the same. And it's just something when it comes to music, some rhythmical elements just resonate in us, and that is why we reuse them instinctively. Like there are many songs which I've realized that wow, like breaking the law, if you really slow down that rhythm, like I think about Kisses, I Was Made for Loving You. Then Priest. Exactly the same, 100% the same. So there you go. And then there's the other 90s, what was the song? Coco Jumbo.
Man.
Breaking the Law and the Coco Jam Boys. The
I never
two
realized
first
that.
bars or one bar, however you want to measure it, 100% the same rhythm. Kind of that kind of the rhythmical things there. What happened and the small syncope, the backbeat notes, which are in exactly in that spot, it hits us as like listeners. And I've realized, there are some rhythms which are timeless. They just work. It just depends how well you treat the melody and the chord progressions and the drum beat behind it. And Kiss, Judas Priest, Coco Jumbo. What was the artist? Was it not Captain Jack, but something else? I can't remember. But if you think, what similar, what connects Judas Priest and this 90s Eurodance band? Well, actually, musicality. Music is a magical language. If you really start to look at it, you realize they play with the same tools. They just use different instruments, different coloration in the production, and like different vocals and stuff. But if you really break it down, the melodicness, or how do you say it, and the rhythms, we use the same elements regardless of the genre. But I understand that usually people's reactions are like, it's always the easiest and the first like that comes to mind. Oh, Pandora, 90s song, don't you know? Beast in Black is copying them, and that's it. That's how they usually go. But
hey, man, that wasn't mine. It was just a generalization that I got.
Of course. I understand. Yeah, and it even doesn't matter if people feel that it's like a tribute or homage to that. If they still enjoy the Beast in Black version, regardless, that's even more important.
That's right.
Yeah, so
but
I don't mind.
It's funny though that there's a lot of bands out there, especially metal dudes, who they listen to it, but they're afraid to dabble into that stuff. You know what I mean? Like it takes a bit of bravery and a bit of fun, but these dudes, like, they're drinking at the pub, they're at a party. As soon as they get a few drinks in them, they're like, woo, they froth it. You do, you guys. Don't deny it. But you know what I mean? A lot of dudes are just, instead of drawing from it and being proud of those influences, they kind of go, oh, no, man, it's not brutal,
Yeah, well, that mindset actually reminds, it's really close to, like, this being a religious fanatic. I don't want to be too like harsh with this, but to me, I don't see any difference. Like, if people are like so like stuck with one way of thinking just because it has to be like this, but there's no actual like reason to be like that, just open up a little bit, you realize that you actually like this thing here, but you just prevent yourself from liking it. And it's like no different from other like this. If a religion tells you to be this way and like this, then you're like this because of that, not because you instinctively would like to be this way. So metalheads, those who are so strict and like stiff with that kind of, I don't see any difference with that kind of mindset or any other, be it like feminism, veganism, or pure metalism, or like Christianity and whatnot. It's all about that mindset is what all these people share.
Yes.
And that's the thing that kind of should be, they should kind of, in my opinion, realize, and then they know that, hey, I'm actually more than just this kind of a person. I can be this, and it will be a pleasant listening experience for them when they can give themselves a permission to enjoy that.
Yep. Hey, it's true. It's true though. I've seen many brutal dudes in black metal shirts just throw down to some real trashy pop when they get a few beers into them. It's true. Don't deny it, you guys. I've seen you do it. But you guys, you're hitting the road soon too.
Yeah,
which is exciting. Considering what's happened.
Yeah, I mean, we played only 3 shows last year, 4 shows this year so far. So November, December tour, we hope it happens. Still because of the pandemic, you don't know what news tomorrow will bring. But apart from that, our bigger plan is definitely to tour really massively with this album, like all around the world, at least for 2 years, maybe even 3 or 4 years. And definitely next year, not just Beast in Black, but I think all the bands will be able to tour more normally. I'm feeling optimistic about it. We all want to be optimistic in this, because the world will adapt and find solutions how to cope with this situation better and better as time goes on. And yeah, then in that time, while we do the tours everywhere in the world, we'll obviously work on the next album. As I said, it's always a process that's in the back of the mind, and thinking about the future of the concepts of the fourth album. And I hope we can be active, like super active next year and a few years from now on.
And a very long overdue visit down here, bro.
Yeah, we definitely want to come there and to your neighborhood, so to speak, and hopefully with some other band, because whenever you go for the first time somewhere, usually it's a good idea to have a bigger band with you. With that band, you can actually introduce yourself to that band's audience, and they become aware. And then the next time you can come probably as a headliner to smaller clubs and stuff like that. But let's see. I really hope that we can, squeeze everything out of this album. And
well, it's a damn good album, my friend. That's for sure.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to hear that you like it. Thank you.
Yeah. I've been cranking it and enjoying it. I've been driving to work and listening to my headphones at work and just tuning out. And yeah, man. I think it's going to do really, really well. I mean, look at the stats already. 2 million views.
Yeah, it's always kind of, when the first singles are out, the kind of the hole where I've dug myself into, the burnout, I start to slowly crawl out of there when the first singles are out. And if they turn out to be like something that people really enjoy and something that becomes successful, then I'm kind of feeling, okay, maybe I didn't fail totally. So that's the feeling after every album. Man. Unfortunately, I don't know any other way. It's always like killing yourself, torturing to the very end, and crawling out of that pit where you got yourself into. And
yeah, getting out of that little bunker and having a look out for the light, man. But hey, I mean, you got to be feeling good about it. You've put in the hard yards. You're getting out of the lab, and you're seeing the results now. It must be real rewarding for you, though.
Yeah, it is rewarding, but I still don't want to listen to the album or I want to forget things that are done and go into the future.
Yeah, man.
There's too much to do. I stand 100% behind every song, every line that I wrote there, 100%. But it's just when you have listened to the songs like tens of thousands of times in 1 year, it's too much. Like some fans, when they come and write to us like, hey, I've listened to the album like 50 times. It is a huge amount of times of listening to an album, because I myself can relate to that when I was listening to, Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and Wasp's albums back in the teenage years and early 20s. And that was a big amount. But now that I work in this environment of creating music, 50 times, it's nothing. In 1 day, I listen to one song more than like 50 times.
Yeah.
And in 1 year, you can only imagine. That's why I really don't want to go back to this album.
You're like, I've heard it, man. I know. It'd be like, directing a movie or something,
And I would enjoy it. I would listen to it if I would be like fully happy with it, or at least if I wouldn't be so aware of the biggest mistakes that I did there, like from my point of view. And I always just, whenever I listen to the songs, I'm aware only about the things that bother me, not the things that are good in them.
Oh man, hey, we're our own worst enemies when it comes to that stuff. Create people, but hey man, you got to be proud of it, dude. Like, the word's great, album's great, and now it's time to get out there and kick ass all over the globe, my friend.
Yeah, we'll do the best we can. Absolutely.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Well, thank you very much for hanging out on the show again, bro. It's good to, well, it was good to see you this time.
Likewise.
Yeah, man. And get your asses down here on a plane. It's going to take you a very long time to get here, but we'll shout you some beers.
Man, that sounds super. I can't wait.
We'll have the links. We'll have all the links down here. The album comes out this week. Brother, you take care. All the best to the rest of the boys, and we'll see you soon.
All right, cool. Hey, take care, and see you hopefully there when we are there.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right.
See you, man.
Bye-bye.